Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. I am Dr. Sharon, educator, author, entrepreneur, and speaker, and I have a treat for you this night. Yes, I have two amazing guests with me, Dr. Mike Lubefield, and I hope I said that right, Dr. Mike.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sharon.
Okay, yes.
Thank you.
And Dr. Nick Polyak, and I hope I said that right as well. So, Dr. Mike.
Perfect.
Thank you. Dr. Mike currently serves as the superintendent of schools in the Lubefield, Illinois Public Schools, District 109. He earned his Doctor of Education in Curriculum and in Instruction from Loyola University of Chicago, where his published dissertation was on effective instruction in middle school social studies. He's on the adjunct faculty at National Louis University, one of my alma maters, in the Department of Educational Leadership. And Dr. Nick is the proud superintendent of the award-winning Layton Community High School District 212. He earned his undergraduate degree from, and I hope I say this right, Augustina?
Close enough.
Okay, college in Rock Island, Illinois. His master's from the Governors State University and his EDD from Loyola University, Chicago. He has been a classroom teacher, a coach, a building and district level administrator, a school board member, and superintendent for the past 8 years in both Central Illinois and suburban Chicago. Both Mike and Nick earned an Illinois Association of School Administrators School of Advanced Leadership Fellowship, and they also graduated from the School Superintendent Association National Superintendent Certification Program. They co-moderate the monthly Superintendent Educational Chat on Twitter, and they both co-authored the 2017 Rowman and Littlefield book, The Unlearning Leader, Leading for Tomorrow's Schools Today, in addition to the 2018 Rowman and Littlefield book, Student Voice, From Invisible to Invaluable, with fellow Illinois Superintendent P.J. Capozzi. Dr. Mike and Dr. Nick, welcome.
Thank you so much. Wow, what you said makes us sound a lot more important than we are. You're way too kind.
Oh my goodness. I'm so excited to have you guys here.
Thanks.
And before we get started, I'm going to give each of you an opportunity just to share anything additionally that I did not say, and also tell us a little bit about your wonderful school district. So Dr. Mike, if you can start, and Dr. Nick, if you would follow.
Well, I'll tell you, Dr. Sharon, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here with you and everybody tonight. This is really fun. Right now, I'm the superintendent of a 3,000 student pre-K through 8th grade elementary school district in suburban Chicago, Illinois. I've got some of the finest teachers and students and board members anybody could ever want. And we've had 5 years of innovation, 5 years of renovation and construction, and 5 years of change leadership that has really been extremely rewarding. My own two children attend the schools here in Deerfield, and it's been a real treat to be a dad and a superintendent in the same place. It's been really nice.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. And Dr. Nick, what about you?
Oh, Dr. Sharon, thank you so much for having us tonight. This is a blast. I think aside from what you mentioned earlier, Mike and I are excited. We're going on a mission trip with a group of superintendents this summer to Puerto Rico to help. So we're excited about that opportunity as well. My school district is a high school only district, so my students are all grades 9 through 12, 3,500 students, and we're located just outside O'Hare International Airport. And so there are planes overhead at all times of our two high schools.
Wow, that must be something. Oh my God, in an all high school district, something very new to me. I'm in the Maryland area, in the Washington, D.C. area, and that's very interesting, all high school. How did that come about?
That's how districts are in Illinois. There are unit districts that are preschool all the way through high school. There are elementary districts like Mike's that are just preschool through 8th grade, and there are high school districts like mine that are just 9 through 12. And so it's different all over the state of Illinois.
Okay, that's very exciting. And so I really want to dive in because when I saw this book, The Unlearned Leader, I said, oh my God, how interesting is that? And just to let you know, just my background, I'm a former principal and I currently work with novice leaders, assistant principals and principals, first and second year. And so I'm always on the hunt for good literature, good books to share with them. And so this will really spark my interest. So I need for you guys to tell me, first of all, how did this come about? And tell us a little bit about the book.
Mike, you want to start?
Sure. I will tell you, Nick and I are really lucky. We've had a good opportunity to work together here in Illinois and also across the country with the superintendent, AASA, the Superintendents Association. So we do some work with National Superintendent Certification Programs. So we're learning leadership with people from all over the United States. And we're together in Alexandria, Virginia, not very far from where you are, Dr. Sharon. And we're meeting these people. We're spending 4 days with them in July a couple of years ago. And then we were about to leave, and we had from July to February, and we weren't going to see them. And one of the things that we talked about was, gosh, wouldn't it be nice if we could stay in touch with this group of superintendents from all around the U.S.? Hey, why don't we do a Twitter chat? So we thought it would just be for these 25 people, right? Well, that was the birth of Soup Chat. So Soup Chat is now in its almost fourth year. We've had about 44 episodes of it. It's a chat that connects superintendents and educational leaders from around the United States and around the world the first Wednesday of every month. And all of a sudden, that kind of sparked something in us like, gosh, maybe more and more people do want to be connected, and maybe the superintendency itself is not lonely. Well, then, flash forward a little bit. Nick and I then go to a Future Ready Summit up in northern Illinois, right by the Wisconsin border. And we see a video from a futurist named Jack Oldrich. And Jack Oldrich is really sort of inspiring. And he's at a conference with a bunch of people, and he says, all right, what two colors are the yield sign? If you think they're yellow and black, raise your hand. So I raise my hand real high, right? He's like, if you think they're red and white, raise your hand. And I'm like, it's not red and white. I taught driver's ed. I know it's yellow, right? Long story short, I learned, like many others, a yield sign was yellow. Well, I know mentally and with my eyesight that it's red. However, I learned it was yellow. I know it's red. It's hard to unlearn that it's not yellow. So that sort of opened up a little bit of the, what else could we unlearn? And I'll kind of stop there and let Nick kind of move on a little bit.
Yeah, so we had that kind of, that moment of realizing that we as people are really good at learning new information, but we're really bad at unlearning things that are no longer true. And so Mike and I took that conversation and said, well, how can we apply this to education? You know, and asking ourselves questions like, why do we put desks in columns and rows? Why do we ring bells and move kids from period to period? Why do we organize kids by their ages into grade level classrooms? All these questions that predate, you know, that the rationale is decades or hundreds of years old in some cases, but we just keep doing it. And so we started to ask ourselves, what do we need to unlearn? And that was the origin of the book.
Wow, that's really exciting. I tell you, and with your work as superintendent, you guys are really the lead learner in your district. It takes, and you know, from working with novice principals, novice assistant principals, there is so much to learn. It's just like when you're student teaching. You don't get it all until you actually step into the role of teacher. And it's the exact same thing when you become a building leader or an administrator. You can take as many classes as you need to, even through the induction program, but until you sit in the seat, it becomes real for you. So what types of support will each of you offer, or do each of you offer in your respective school districts?
Well, Nick, may I go first?
Sure.
All right, Dr. Sharon, that's a great question. In Deerfield Public Schools, anytime we hire an associate principal or an assistant principal or a principal, we work with the Illinois Principal Association, and they have a formal mentoring program where the mentors are certified through mentoring program, and they've got, a number of programs and meetings and things and outcomes they want to do. We invest for 2 years for the new person in each of those positions so they have an outside mentor. In addition, each of us in the central office, the superintendent, assistant superintendents, we all take on a junior administrator or a new member, and we make sure we check in on them or take them to lunch or breakfast or stop in to make sure that they've got some support. And we can always have a sounding board to say, hey, listen, we don't know everything. Oftentimes we don't know anything. So let's talk it through and ask the right questions to see if we can help each other out and do the best we can to make sure everyone's going to be successful.
Yeah, and Sharon, there's not a whole lot I would add to what Mike said other than we try to connect our leaders to other leaders in the area. We try to empower them to attend their state and national conferences. Mike and I use the phrase very often, it's important to go where the smart people are. And so if you're going to NAESP or NASSP and networking with folks doing the same job across the country, learning from one another, it's important to build that network. And so we encourage them to get on Twitter. We encourage them on Voxer and meet up with people in any way, in any modality that they can.
Absolutely. And what about, as we know, school climate and school culture is critical to the success of any organization. And so how do we, and we also know that it starts from the top down. So how do you support and actually transfer that positive climate and culture throughout your organization? Oh, we may be frozen. Okay, we're back.
Sharon, you are frozen. We're back. Are we good? Okay. Yeah. So the first way is to unlearn that it's coming from your gut and relearn that we have to measure it. And there's a number of ways to measure culture, whether you work with a company that does it, whether you do it yourself. Basically, ask people, how are they feeling? How do they feel about working with their team? How do they feel about the pride they have in their organization? Do they think the team communicates? Do they think the supervisor communicates? So you ask a set of questions. Then you get that information, and then you share the input right back. So you have unfiltered communication loops. And then what you do is you say, all right, here are the top 2 that we scored on that we're real good at. Here are the bottom 2 we're not so good at. Let's make an action plan to work together as a team right now for this 6 months or this year or whatever. And we're going to replicate and continue what we're good at. And we're going to intervene and remediate what we're bad at. Do that over and over again. And all of a sudden culture is so wonderful and the climate's good and people are heard. They don't just feel heard, they really are heard.
Yeah, and Dr. Sharon, I think you hit it on the head when you said it starts at the top. Mike and I both believe in creating a culture of innovation in our school districts to where we model that. We show that we're able to take risks and try new things. Telling our teachers that we started a Twitter, we'd never done one before, modeling that we're stepping out of our comfort zones. And then that gives them the allowance to do the same. And then we reward. And if they fail, let them try again, let them try different. And so if we want that to flow down to the kids, we have to model it so that our principals do it and our teachers do it and our parents see it. It has to be organizational all the way through.
Absolutely.
I love that. I love that because it truly is about risk taking when you do that, because you do have to step out of your box and your comfort zone. And so another very important bucket is parent engagement. As a school superintendent, we know that we must involve our stakeholders, be it the community, be it parents, be it business partners. How do you all engage your community?
All right. Nick, you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, you know what? I'll let you talk about parents, Mike. I'd like to talk about how we engage the business community.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Local state. We talk a lot about career pathways and work-ready credentials. And so it's technology or culinary science. We bring together groups of business partners to be advisory groups for us. So we meet with them in some cases phone. I was talking to the business advisory group and suggested that we incorporate QuickBooks certification into our accounting course. They said, if your kids come out with QuickBooks, we can hire them on the spot and they can work right in our jobs. And so we said, okay, let's be flexible. We incorporated that program and that certification receptive to the community and responsive to their needs, so our businesses can be viable into the future.
Awesome. And with respect to parent engagement, it is absolutely essential to reach out to and make feel welcome all parents. So you got some parents who are active in the PTA and the PTO, get them involved, get them on board. You got some parents that just really may not have liked school themselves and they kind of have a hands-off approach. Somehow reach out to them, even if it's picking up the phone or driving, going to the community center, wherever people are, find out where they are. I've also used a lot of surveys. So surveys with action mean something to people. Surveys with no action turn people off. So if you give a survey and then you tell the people what you heard and you do something with that information and you explain, look, the parent community had these 5 themes. Here's what we did. We did 2 of them. We didn't do 1 of them, and here's why, and we're holding the others off. People, you get credibility from the community that way, and people really appreciate it. In addition, when we're doing facility studies, parents, come on in. What's your opinion of the safety of the school? What's your opinion of the lighting of the school? Are there things that we might not see because we're here every day? Can you give us a fresh eye? Parents, what do you think if we go 1-to-1, for example? What's it going to do to your home life? How's homework impacting you? So always remembering that the main purpose is the children. The eye is always on the children, their social emotional growth, their academic growth, their physical and emotional safety, always. As administrators, we also have to remember we've got to support the adults. We got to support one another, the teachers, the support staff, the nurses, everybody. And let's not forget, especially in elementary, but also in high school, the parents are a real important group. They're the first teacher for these kids. They know them better than we do. We may love them, but they really love them. And they're their most precious asset. We can never forget that. We've got to work together in concert with the community.
That's exactly correct. I tell you, and with all of that, certainly as school districts across the United States, retention is high on the list because we know with the turn of filling those vacancies, it can get very costly, especially if you're in a very large district and you have a high turnover. So I'm not sure what your turnover rate is, but what efforts do you all take in retaining your quality administrators?
Wonderful question. Wonderful question. Well, part of it is the mentoring and support. So you've got inside support and you've got external support. Part of it is also allowing them to go to NASSP or NAESP or the local principal association. Like Nick was saying, don't reserve all that good stuff just for us or the executive leadership. Make sure that those principals have growth opportunities. We do book studies and we ask the principals what do they think and what would they like to read. We read it together. So we always focus on their leadership development and we try to provide meaningful administrative team meetings so we can actually do something as opposed to just hear something. Nick, what do you do? What do you guys do?
I think one of the things, Dr. Sharon, we're doing that I think is unique is we're in the middle of a construction project. And part of our construction project is we're adding an on-site daycare facility for babies 6 months all the way up through preschool. And it's going to serve our staff. And so, we want our staff to be able to be comfortable to return to work, to have an affordable option for childcare, because the very best thing for our students is to have their teacher back in the classroom with them. So whatever we can do to facilitate that and make the teacher the most comfortable, I think that's maybe a little bit out of the box idea we're undertaking.
Wow, that is amazing. That is really amazing that would happen. I think, am I frozen?
No, you're good. We got you.
Okay, good.
You're back.
Yeah,
We got you good.
that's amazing that you guys do that. And definitely, if I'm in this area, I definitely have to check out your school district. It sounds like they are very wonderful districts, and you guys have been in place. I think it's awesome. But please tell the viewers and those who are live, those who are going to catch the replay, how can they connect with you guys? Because you all have a wonderful following. So I'm sure there's someone out there who wants to connect with you. So please share that information.
First of all, Dr. Sharon, you have an open invitation, 24/7. Visit any of our schools anytime. So
Yes.
you are always welcome. You got friends in the Chicago area. You can find me on Twitter at Mike Lubefield. I just keep it simple. It's my first name, Mike, my last name, Lubefield, Lubefield. With respect to email, it's michael.lubefield@gmail.com. People can get in touch anytime. I'm on Voxer. I think I'm Mike Lubefield on Voxer too, to tell you the truth. Let's see, LinkedIn. So there aren't too many people with my last name, so I'm pretty easy to find. And I welcome anybody. Reach out at any time. Nick and I love unlearning, and we really believe in student voice and empowerment of everybody. So together we can all go where the smart people are, because that's why we're here with Dr. Sharon, and we'd love to meet you. So smarter too.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sharon, if you haven't figured out, Mike and I are very private people. We don't like to share or connect with folks very often. Like Mike said, I also have a unique last name, so I'm easy to find on Twitter. I'm at Polyak. You can email me, at work. You can find me on LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever. But remember, Sharon, when you fly into Chicago, your plane's going to go right over the top of my district, so you might as well come by and visit.
That is so amazing, and I cannot wait to do that. I tell you. And guys, this is Leadership Matters, and I always ask the question, why, in your opinion, does leadership matter?
Every person is talented. It often takes a leader to help other people realize what their own gifts and talents are and help them spread that and apply it to make the world a better place.
Mm-hmm. Leadership matters because it's a blessing, it's an opportunity, and it's a responsibility for us to change the trajectory of kids' lives, to set them out on a course to be successful, to go be leaders, and to change the world. Our best thing we can do is develop kids that are even better leaders than we are.
I wholeheartedly agree. Guys, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time out of your, I know, busy schedules to just share with us all of your knowledge, all of your information. And please tell everyone where they can buy the book, both of the books that you all have. Where can they purchase it?
The Unlearning Leader, Reading for Tomorrow's Schools Today, and Student Voice from Invisible to Invaluable. They're available at Amazon. They're available at Barnes & Noble. They're available at Target.com. They're available at the Roman Littlefield Publisher. And if you want autographed copies, just shoot me an email. We can send you some autographed copies too.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I tell you so. Are there any plans for another one?
Yes.
Sharon, that depends if you're asking us or asking our wives.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'll leave that open-ended.
I tell you, you guys are awesome. When I saw you, I knew you would be. So I'm just so humble and so grateful that you all came on this show tonight. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sharon. Looking forward to seeing the rest of the shows. Have a good night. Thank you.
Guys, thank you for joining us. Those of you who are going to catch the replay, I thank you as well. And as always, remember, leadership matters.